the Clear Air Council. Clean Air, I'm sorry. Misspelling. Co-chair of Northwest PA Green Economy Task Force.
Yes. I have a little, so I happen to have 5 copies of this, and I want to give them to you right now. We'll talk about them very shortly. Right. Well, thank you very much. I want to thank you for the opportunity to testify on behalf of Renewable Energy today. I do serve as the Regional Outreach Coordinator for the Clean Air Council, as well as serve as co-chair of the Northwest PA Green Economy Task Force, otherwise known as NewPage. So through NewPage, in collaboration with the council, I've been working on the Lake Erie Winds Pennsylvania campaign to advocate for the development of offshore wind energy on the PA waters of Lake. Sound familiar because John and I are in cahoots. Lake Erie offshore wind is one of Pennsylvania's greatest untapped energy resources. The magnitude of the Great Lakes offshore wind potential is transformative, and it offers sustainable economic benefits and an abundant source of clean energy. As John touched on, created in 2009, Cleveland-based LEEDCO, Lake Erie Energy Development Corporation, has been working to spearhead the development of the Great Lakes offshore wind energy with Project Icebreaker, pilot project proposing to place 6 wind turbines 7 to 10 miles off the coast of Cleveland shores, slated to be constructed in 2018. And it's only 90 miles west of us, actively solving the technical and engineering challenges facing our nascent Great Lakes offshore wind industry. They are in part learning from and partnering with leaders of the booming European offshore wind industry, particularly with vested support of Norway's Olsen wind carrier. They're doing their homework. Pennsylvania has an opportunity right now to help lead a clean energy revolution and build a brighter future. For example, Energy's Don John Shipbuilding and Repair and Doigro, which is an international logistics company located here in Erie, they are both already involved in Great Lakes offshore wind development effort through their partnership with LEEDCO. They're already working under the leadership of our county executive, recognizing the real local benefits of developing offshore wind. Erie County Council unanimously voted to join the board of LEEDCO, representing a strong local commitment to this effort and positioning Pennsylvania to benefit from economic development opportunities, sources of sustainable energy, and new long-term jobs for our region. Also, Great Lakes Wind Network, or the GLWN, they presented a supply chain workshop to local leadership in manufacturing and industry. According to the GLWN, the United States Department of Energy proposed a goal of 54 gigawatts of wind energy by 2030, which will require 10,800, almost 11,000, 5-megawatt wind turbines. So this goal, this demand will create a substantial number of supply chain and business opportunities for Erie County in areas of heavy fabrication, casting and machining, forging and machining, electrical composites, and wind development would also create a demand for local and regional services, equipment and materials, as well as long-term opportunities for manufacturing jobs. Thank you. Also, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, wind turbine service technician was at the top of the 2015 list for fastest growing jobs. Additionally, machinists, computer-controlled machine tool operators, assemblers, welders, quality control inspectors, and industrial production managers are also highly valued in the wind industry, as their job duties, skills, training, and backgrounds are very similar to those of manufacturing employees in other industries. So while our local elected officials have supported Erie's involvement in the offshore wind development, Pennsylvania must reduce the roadblocks for the industry to be able to, Pennsylvania is not quite open for business. We're not open for business yet. Current state law doesn't enable offshore wind development to occur in the state of Pennsylvania on the Pennsylvania side of Lake Erie due to limitations on the acreage of lake bed that can be leased. However, even without current legislative action to resolve this issue, and we'll get into this in a bit, Pennsylvania still has the ability to advance the development of offshore wind while pioneering clean energy and creating sustainable economic growth. The governor's administration in Pennsylvania has a number of options to help lay the groundwork for this industry to develop and flourish. In addition to articulating a clear vision for Pennsylvania to lead in the development of Great Lakes offshore wind industry, we've identified 3 individual, very specific wind industry-related actions, which don't require statewide enabling legislation, but they would hasten the development of wind. So the first one is the wind turbine placement favorability analysis, and that is that fun color-coded map that I just gave to each of you. So this one is possibly the simplest and most easily attainable component of the suite of industry-related actions. So the turbine placement, the favorability analysis, Ohio's example is what you have in front of you. It was intended as a guidance document, and it compiles data of specific importance to a developer. What would a developer care about? Specific importance to offshore wind stakeholders in kind of one easy to understand map. Commercial shipping lanes, migratory flyway patterns, favorable wind conditions, just to name a few. It utilizes a very simple red, yellow, green code to indicate areas that are not ideal for development. Red means no. And areas that are favorable for development, green means go. So that kind of gives you a sense of the homework that's being done. The color code effectively illustrates that the siting favorability increases farther from the shore and toward the eastern basin of Lake Erie, which is closer to us. The map was prepared by the Ohio Coastal Management Department's GIS mapping specialist. One gentleman worked on this project, took him 6 months to complete. And it was just similar effort by Pennsylvania would provide an initial analysis of potential turbine siting and provide all the stakeholders with a tool to evaluate future proposals for offshore wind in Pennsylvania waters. Providing a practical and easy to access map would support informed public dialogue on offshore wind. Given the current effort to establish a marine sanctuary in the Pennsylvania waters of Lake Erie, such a mapping effort could also indicate and include data on known shipwreck sites. And that's something that LEEDCO looked at as well. So the second is providing clarification on the submerged land lease structure and entity. Pennsylvania's submerged land licenses are currently limited to 25 acres, and this could limit offshore wind development. Comparatively, the lease that LEEDCO has, they do things a little differently. The lease that LEEDCO has with the state of Ohio only requires a lease for the lake bed that is actually used for the turbine foundations, and then a limited buffer around that area. We call it the polka dot method. Instead of the big contiguous block method, it's a lease that just entails individual turbines. So for a wind farm, for example, would be subject to the submerged land license. Special considerations would then be required for the cables. Those are measured in linear feet, which fall under PUC regulations, and they're considered public right-of-way. While state-level legislative action to enable offshore wind development would clearly be beneficial, clarifying this Pennsylvania lakebed license process along these lines would allow offshore wind developers some flexibility that they need to design an economically viable project. Kind of, for example, the state of New York, they proactively use a public competitive bidding process. They put it out for bid to attract developers, and then they would provide exclusive rights for a specific time frame, and then the state would then maintain some level of control. Additionally, Pennsylvania could clarify the cable transmission routes that are covered by easements rather than the submerged land licenses. Then those are not subject to the 25-acre limit. So taken in tandem, both of those actions, these simple administrative clarifications would open the possibility of offshore wind development even in the absence of statewide specific thing. We would need would be to provide regulatory and permitting guidance for wind developers. One of the impediments to developing Pennsylvania's offshore wind power industry is that potential developers may be deterred by the lack of regulatory clarity regarding the various agencies, permit types that they would need in order to proceed with a project. The Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, DEP, they currently do, they have an outline, they've outlined the general required permits and guidance process that contains all the necessary permits, and those include the environmental impact assessments among specific permits, but streamlining this process and developing a timeline are the two next steps that really need to happen. Also understand that some flexibility exists within this process, as some of the permits and requirements, they actually depend on the specific project proposal. So Pennsylvania's administration could enable the advancement of developer assistance by collaborating with relevant agencies to develop technical guidance document that would provide step-by-step guidance, support, and resources to wind developers. This guidance document should lay out in logical sequence the steps a potential developer would need to take and identify the relevant government agencies and bodies responsible at state and local levels. So in summary, Pennsylvania has an opportunity right now to be a leader in renewable energy and build a brighter future. We feel there is a broad and diverse group of stakeholders representing businesses, regional and national environmental organizations, local and state elected officials that want to see Pennsylvania commit to taking action in order to encourage offshore wind development in Pennsylvania.
Questions or
I have one question related to your map.
Sure.
If I'm reading it correctly, and if what Mr. Rossi said earlier was that you could get 5,700 megawatts, I'm assuming in the green area that is Erie County.
Well, this, just to be clear, this is Lead Coast map. This is Ohio.
Okay.
This is just an example of, this is what we need. Like, look at what Lead Co has done, look at what Ohio's done. They've mapped their shoreline.
Okay, so this
Yes.
is the. Okay,
That's
so
that's Ohio.
I'm looking at Erie County. I'm looking at Erie County.
Yes,
Right.
yes. Lead Co comprises the 4 lakefront counties.
Okay, so that's
What Pennsylvania needs to do. We
Okay.
need to create a map just like that.
Right. Okay. Got
We
it.
think we can do it.
I'm with you now.
Okay, thanks. Sorry for the confusion.
Lake Ontario as an example.
That's a great idea. I'm not real familiar. We work very closely with the folks at LECO. That's homework that I would have to do, but I'd be happy to talk.
Because I know there is some development already on Lake Ontario.
There is, but I don't know to what extent what they've done.
This segment of our series was filmed at the House Democratic Policy Committee hearing on renewable energy, March 8, 2017. Speaker and testimony presenter Joy Knapp is the Regional Outreach Coordinator of Clean Air Council and also the co-chair of Northwest Pennsylvania Green Economy Task Force, also known as New Page.